The steps are not that hard. It's just really looking and being honest with yourself and putting it into action.
When you actually begin to invest, it empowers you.
Inflation, tariffs, the price on everything is up. So it's squeezing all of your money. Yeah. And the goal of this episode is really to bring all of the principles we've talked about into that one conversation.
Alex, how you doing?
Doing great, James. How you doing?
Doing great. You ready to talk stocks?
Let's do it. This is it.
This is it. Our final episode of season 1 of Alex Talks Stocks. It's been a great season. Thanks for sharing all your wisdom and experience and helping the new investor prepare and work through the steps to get ready for investing.
Let's do it. Yeah. And the goal of this episode is really to bring all of the principles we've talked about into that one conversation.
And with the angle, let's just say you bump into an old friend or you meet somebody for coffee or you catch up with somebody and the topic of investing comes up. They haven't invested, don't really have a sense of how to do it, what to do, etc. We want to kind of frame this episode as if you had that one conversation with somebody, what you would say, what would you advise on, and what would you encourage them with to begin that investing. You ready?
Let's do it.
What are some of the major things that you would want to cover and what would you start with?
So I think there's a few things that we've talked about to kind of bring it all together and kind of starting with the first spot and like working to the very final end of like, okay, now I have all the tools I need to start investing. And the first stop we took and the first key thing to get through is you need to have the right investor mindset. And when I say investor mindset, that means that we are not targeting anything short term. We are thinking 5+ years out. And if I have a long-term mindset, it allows me to deal with the emotional burden that comes with investing dramatically better. So this is one of the key hurdles for people to get over is we're not doing get rich quick schemes. We're building good habits and doing this for the long haul, not for short term.
Okay, so you have the mindset, you kind of set your mental framework. What's next after the mindset?
So when my mind is right, the next step is figuring out how much I can invest with. And this is where it comes to now it's time to set my budget. And one of the episodes we talk through my exact budgeting approach, but basically it's 70-20-10. 70% of my budget is allocated to those things that I have to have in my life. My mortgage or my rent, my groceries, my utilities, those things that cannot change, that's in the 70%. 20% is the investing bucket. And this also includes any contributions you make from your employer. If you have an HSA, any other IRAs, all of those investing accounts, this is where that 20% falls, which also includes what we're talking about now of building that personalized investing account. And then finally, the 10% is the emergency fund, as well as the account where I can use a little bit of that extra money to go and have fun and do things that I enjoy from there. So that after that, once I have my budget, that's where I'm ready to know like, okay, this is exactly how much I can invest with.
So that can be difficult for, at least initially, for people to rein in the budget. I know when I first started working on figuring out how much to invest, you take a hard look at where your expenses are. You run into some surprises, especially if you haven't already done the hard work of being critical about your expenses. Unpack that a little bit as a new investor looks at that 70%, which often a lot of people realistically living paycheck to paycheck don't have 30% left over after expenses to either save or invest.
Yeah, so the 70-20-10 can be really challenging for a lot of people. I mean, inflation, tariffs, the price on everything is up. So it's squeezing all of your money right now. And the other thing is people also have debt.
Thankfully, I started late, so I had already paid off some debt and student loans from my education, but really diving in to where your money was going or is going and being ruthless about restructuring that or making budget. It's like, okay, wait a minute. And that comes from doing a serious audit and being very honest with yourself. Do I need that Grubhub or
Mm-hmm.
Uber Eats?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when I say must have, I truly mean must
Mhm.
have. So if you like to DoorDash every night, that's not a must have. That's more of a perk that you get to have
Yeah,
within your life. If you like to shop, you don't have to go shop and buy expensive clothes
right.
all the time. Those can be special treats. So dialing back those things, like really getting honest with yourself, look in the mirror. Do I actually must have this in my life?
Mm,
And if the answer is no, it means it doesn't fit in that bucket. And we got to find a way to, if you want to include this in your life, which I'm a huge proponent of, you don't want to go cold turkey
yeah,
on everything you love in your life just to invest. It's important to be able to have fun and do things like this.
yeah.
But as long as you budget for it, you don't want any of these crazy expenses creeping into money that you would then be better off just investing from there.
It's hard to say no to yourself sometimes, especially if it's something you enjoy. And it's fine if you enjoy, but your point is just budget it
Hmm.
and make room for it. But what I liked that you covered in one of the episodes is you do the hard work with the knowledge that, hey, this sacrifice is painful, but it's going to pay off elsewhere because then I have more funds to invest. And I really related to your statement in a previous video where you said that when you actually begin to invest, it empowers you. It
Right.
builds confidence just knowing and engaging in something for your future and for your benefit that that act in itself is so empowering to continue it. When I fixed my budget, came up with a game plan, started investing, it was in a way like I was a new person
Hmm.
because I felt like I had, I had direction with my finances and I did already, but it was to a new level,
Yes.
and I started really scrutinizing. Do I need to buy that lunch at work or do I make a sandwich and can I be as content? Knowing, even if I'm not, knowing that sacrifice is allowing 10 more dollars that I could put towards this or that. And so that really spoke to me there.
That's right. It's an amazing feeling when you have control of your life. And like, it's not even really like you're having control. You're just getting everything together.
Right.
And that skill can be applied to all kinds of things across that. So that's really cool to hear that you're seeing this kind of come into play.
Right. So we have the right mindset of having a game plan, having a budget. We've set our budget. We've identified how much we're willing or able to invest in. What's the next step?
Yeah. So I've got my mind right.
Mhm.
I've got my budget ready to go. I know how much money I'm ready to invest. Next step is picking a brokerage. You can pick Robinhood, Charles Schwab, Fidelity. There's lots of major brokerages you can choose from.
Mm,
I personally use both Charles Schwab and Robinhood. I really like Robinhood. They have lots of really easy to understand interfaces. They have the best information that's on there. They have so much updated news.
mm,
That's why I really prefer it for myself. But it's really not important which one you pick. It's more important that you're not picking one that's charging you fees for random things. It should be a fee free to purchase anything nowadays. So if you're focused on whatever I want to do with it, as long as it's free, that's the main thing to choose from.
All right. So you select your brokerage. You've identified the mindset, the long term approach. You've budgeted. What next?
So the next part is the fun part where all this work is now coming to fruition of I now get to buy things. So this is the fun part. Now, the question is, what do I buy from there? And this goes back to, one of the episodes we did where we talk about how do I allocate my portfolio.
Yeah.
And we'll quickly cover it here, but I really recommend people go watch that episode so that you get really in depth of what we want to do there.
Mhm.
But basically, 50% of the money should be going to index funds.
Yeah.
And so index funds, again, are groups of stock that are diversified across, sometimes the size of the company or different industries. I really like total market ones or S&P 500 ones.
Mhm.
So SPY, IVV, VOO, stuff like this, those are really good ones to anchor your portfolio of I'm putting the bulk of my money in these. And they're great for new investors because they don't move as much because there's so many stocks underlying. And so it allows you to kind of learn the ebbs and flows of the market better than if you go all in on just individual stocks. So then with the rest of that 50%, this is when I can start having more fun and doing research on individual stocks. And my only rule with individual stocks is one, don't go crazy picking every single one under the sun. 5 to 10 is a good range to shoot for. Because if you get more than 10, there's no way I can keep up with that in my life as just a personal investor. This isn't my main job. So make sure it's under 10 when you're looking at the amount of those. And then make sure that you're not allocating more than 20% of your money into one individual stock.
And why is that?
And the reason for that is it starts making it so you're too reliant
Mm.
on one stock. And especially because some of these stocks that we talk through, especially once I start getting into tech and some of the more niche things that we're seeing right now with AI or any of the software stocks, they're very volatile. So if I put too much money in it and that stock does not do well, it can drag down
Mm.
everything else. And just like you mentioned, we don't want one stock to dominate our portfolio so that it can drag everything else down. So again, we're kind of protecting ourselves a little bit, but this is where you can start investing time into like, what companies do I want to pick? What am I passionate about? What companies do I believe in? And this is where you can put your money where that research goes. Another thing we talk about is I recommend investing in stocks that you want to, and you may not have enough money to buy a whole share. Well, nowadays you can buy fractional shares. And so if you have $300, I can put $300 towards whatever company, even if it doesn't get me a full share. This is an amazing feature and something I really recommend as you're spreading your money around. It's
Right.
something I do personally as well.
So we've walked through some of those steps. Quick pause on that. What are some of the things you already going up to this process? Let's just say starting at right before you're pulling the trigger on certain funds or stocks. What are any pitfalls to call out that a lot of people get um, stuck in?
So I think maybe one of the common pitfalls that people get stuck into is not doing enough research on what they're buying.
Mm.
It's really important that even if we're recommending something, you go and do your own research and figure it out because there's all kinds of tips and tricks online of people trying to sell you and buy different stocks. You need to do your own research. It's really important you understand the company, what they do, how they make money, and should you be invested in them? So it's really research, I think, is one of the big pitfalls. People just blindly buy things. If I say a company, if you say a company, I don't expect anyone or want anyone to just go and trust exactly what we're saying and just go buy without looking to the company. You need to go and research it. You need to figure out, what do they do? Who's their competition? How do they make money? How are they trending? How is their industry trending? And again, we have episodes where you can kind of start figuring this out in the best ways to go about evaluating companies. But you need to do this because if not, you're going to make mistakes. And I famously have done this before when I was learning. I went really into companies that I didn't truly understand. It's extremely important to do your own research.
Right. So you've selected, you made your initial investment or buying. And I like how you refer to it as buying because that's literally what you're doing, correct? You're buying a portion, a share of a company,
Hmm.
and you're part owner of that company. It's kind of cool.
That's right.
After you make your selections and you've invested into your funds, what's next?
So the good news is the hard part's done at this point. The final piece is kind of one of the key learnings I want everyone to take away with is this is not a one-time event. This is now a new lifestyle that you build into the rest of your life. I am now an investor and I want to passively invest. So I have my budget. I know how much money I can invest in every month. I put that towards this and I passively invest in those stocks and those index funds that I've chosen. And the great news is you don't have to buy whole shares anymore. You can buy fractional shares of companies. So if I only have $100, $50 to invest, I can buy partial shares and still be a Google investor
Mm.
or still be a Meta investor. And that's really important to do is set up a passive schedule where that money that I have allocated passively invests into these so that I know that as the market goes up, I'm buying. And then as the market goes down, I'm also buying. And this allows me to dollar cost average. I'm not buying always at the peak. I'm not always buying at the bottom. I'm somewhere in the middle, and I can then grow with the company as it goes on with time.
So you're with your friend, you've walked them through having the right mindset. You've helped them create a budget, talk about the budget. You've guided them on choosing a brokerage to help you invest in. You've funded it. You've selected your stocks and funds. They continue to invest and to contribute on a recurring basis. What else follows that, or how do you land the plane, if you will? What advice or guidance you give at this point?
I hope that they walk away feeling really good and excited about investing, where maybe originally it was kind of scary and intimidating.
Mm,
The steps are not that hard. It's just really looking and being honest with yourself and putting it into action. And what I hope is, like you have felt, this allows you to really get empowered. Maybe it starts bleeding into other parts of your life, and you
mm.
can realize that this same model can be applied to anything. So I really, truly hope that it just benefits and helps people long term.
That's awesome. And that's basically the gist of this first season, where we cover in detail some of those fears, risks, understanding the market volatility, how to manage that, how to budget, how to research. This next season, I'm thinking that we help that new investor with some of that more in detail. In fact, using some of even my own investments as talking points to review what I've done since we've started. So that'll be fun.
Hmm.
Um, and I'd love to hear from our listeners too, if there's anything they want to hear covered. But any other thoughts of what we want to do next season?
Yeah. So I think if you watch this full season in this episode, and now I have a good standard of like, this is how I invest, this
Mm,
is the mindset, and this is my approach. Next season, we'll start making it so you're building on your knowledge
mm,
of investing, is really understanding measures of companies, really going into how the different segments within the market matter, and also kind of maybe demystifying some of the lingo that's out there. What is an IPO?
yeah.
That kind of thing, so that I can just continue to elevate my IQ as an investor.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for talking stocks with us, Alex. And I encourage all of our listeners to, one, submit some questions or ideas if there's something you want to hear. Two, go back and check out some of those videos in detail under Alex Talks Stocks podcasts, and to like and subscribe so you're ready when we release those as well. So thank you, Alex. This has been awesome.
Yeah,
Alex, thanks for talking stocks.
it was great. Can't wait for next season.
Likewise. Talk to you soon.
We'll see you then.